Welcome. I am not here to tell you that you should be stocking professional retail products. Honestly, I estimate that about 70% of the salons that I come across are either breaking even or worse. So there's a huge chunk of them that are making no profit at all. So if the only reason you are stocking professional retail products is because everybody else is, it's not a great strategy. In fact, I reckon there's money to be made just by looking at what the rest of the industry is doing and doing exactly the opposite. So if you don't want to carry salon retail, I am convinced that you can make a good go of your business anyway. But assuming that you do want to stock salon retail and you can see the benefits in that, then it's important that it's a really profitable exercise for you. And in this video, I want to help you understand exactly how much retail you ought to be stocking. Welcome. Tying up huge amounts of money in retail stock is a very quick way of turning something that should be a profitable and integral part of your business into something that becomes a bit of a burden, a bit of a millstone that's actually holding the profitability of your salon business back. I'm afraid there is a bit of simple math here to do because we're going to be measuring something called speed of sale. So essentially what we're measuring is how quickly we are turning over our retail stock. And unfortunately, speed of sale is not something that I see readily available in our salon software systems. So we're going to have to do the calculation manually. I promise you this is simple math though. It's not going to take you more than 2 minutes. It's a weekly measure. And what we're going to do now is jump into my computer and I will talk to you about how we measure your speed of sale. So how do we go about calculating how much retail we ought to be stocking? Well, we're going to use a measure called speed of sale. This is something that's really common in the retail industry, but it's not something that I see salons use terribly frequently, which is a shame. It's actually quite a simple measure, and I'm going to talk you through a quick example as well to make sure you're absolutely clear about how we measure speed of sale. So the first thing we need is the total sales, and speed of sale is one of the only calculations that takes the total sales as the gross. So it's the amount that actually went through the till, including sales tax. And then what we're going to do is divide that by our total value of retail that's on the shelves. So when we're talking about total retail value, I don't care how much you paid for that stock. I don't care whether you got it on a deal from your supplier or the wholesalers where you were getting it on 3 for 2. It doesn't matter if it was free stock that you got left over from Christmas packs that you've then broken down. So what we're looking at is the total amount of money that went through the till and then the total retail value of everything on your shelf, again including sales tax. Now of course if sales tax doesn't apply to you, it doesn't matter as long as these two are consistent. And then what we're going to do is multiply that by 100 and that will give us a percentage. Let me give you a quick example, and this is a weekly measure, by the way. So let's say in 1 week I managed to sell £350 or dollars or euros worth of retail, and what's on my shelf is £2,500 worth of retail stock. So that's what I could sell that as individual products at. Multiply that by 100, and that will give me a speed of sale percentage of 14%. And that 14% tells us how we should be treating our retail stock. Now you can use this as a measure of your entire retail offering. You could break it down into each supplier, each range, or you can even break it down into sub-range or individual products. And that will be a really good indicator of how quickly a particular product or sub-range or range is moving, and that will help you make some management decisions about what you're going to do next. So assuming that we've got that 14%, that will give us an indicator of how we're going to make those management decisions. If your speed of sale is below 10%, that means that the stock is moving too slowly. It means that your stock is hanging around too long. You've got too much money tied up in stock, and that's going to hurt your profitability. So what do we do if our speed of sale is below 10%? Well, the first thing that I would recommend and that lots of salons would do is to look at investing in some training. So perhaps your team members need some enhanced product knowledge training. Perhaps they're not quite confident and comfortable talking about the products, and that's affecting their ability to sell them effectively to your customers. Or maybe they need some sales technique training. Perhaps they're not comfortable with that retail conversation, and that's really common in the salon industry. After that, we could maybe look at some enhanced marketing or some particular promotion. So if you have certain products which are sluggish and they're holding your speed of sale back, perhaps we need to do a special promotion on them. Perhaps we need to identify those particularly in our marketing rather than just general brand marketing. Maybe we could use them as hero products in our displays or build some kind of window display, or perhaps we need to mention them in our email marketing or social media. As a last resort, we would start to look at reducing the facings. So facings are the number of columns of products that we have on display. Perhaps we would reduce the amount that we're holding in stock of certain products, because if we're holding less, proportionally, we should be selling more. So the speed of sale should start to increase. Or we could even look at discontinuing a particular product. Lots of your manufacturers will be quite grumpy about this. They like you to hold an entire range of products. But I do believe that we should be tailoring what we're offering to our clientele. So if you've got something that just isn't right for your customer avatar, I see no shame in discontinuing that product. But what if, as in our example, your speed of sale is above 10%? What does that tell us? Well, you might think that that's a really good thing and we should be aiming for a speed of sale of 20% or 30%. Well, actually, no, we shouldn't. And the thinking behind that is that if your speed of sale is above 10%, you may actually be missing out on potential sales because you're more likely to be running out of products that customers are actually demanding. So the first step will be to increase the facing, so increase the amount of stock of particular products in an effort to bring the speed of sale back down to 10%. The other thing you could do is look at bringing in alternative products for your customers. So if you have a particular moisturizer which is doing really well and got a very high speed of sale, instead of just increasing the facings of that product, you could bring in something that will do the same job but appeal to a slightly different part of the market, or maybe a slightly different price point as well. So that's speed of sale and what it tells us, and a couple of ideas on how you can take that measurement into your management decision making. So there we have it, a simple way of calculating how much retail you ought to be stocking. I hope that's been useful to you. If it has, don't forget to click subscribe. I will be back next week with some more really useful content for your salon business. Until I speak to you again, take care.